Every story has an ending. Does our quest to play the top 100 courses in 10 years have a good ending? I'm Nish, and I'm here to guide you through this golfing journey. This is the Top 110 Golf Podcast. I have a very special guest on with me today. He's a chap that I've been trying to get on the podcast for quite a while, actually, and I avidly listen to their podcast. His name is Shawn Massey. He's from Fair Wagers. They are a golf brand that he runs with a gentleman called TJ. And you can find them on Instagram or TikTok as at Fair Wages. But together they run what's called the Must Play podcast. Now, that is a show, as I said, I'm a real fan of, and it evaluates golf courses that they've played on the entire experience. So a little bit like what we do. They're giving you a good rundown of how they found that course. And very uniquely, they put the courses through a 10-question test, as well as dive into the history of the course. Every few episodes, they also run a series called Level Select, where they get a guest come on and pitch them on a course that they actually haven't played and help them find some hidden gems across the US. You can find all their podcasts by searching Must Play on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, or basically anywhere you get your podcasts. So I hope you enjoy this episode. He's going to give us a really good rundown about Oakmont as a golf course and as a golf club, and maybe give us a little bit of a hint about who might be a little outside bet for winning the US Open this weekend. Hi, Shawn. Thank you for joining us today, all the way from the other side of the pond.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, we've got you on for our US Open special. We're doing a preview. Now, we're a little bit in love with your podcast. That's the Must Play podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms. So it's a special occasion for me. And it's always nice to be, as the host, to be excited about the episode that you're doing. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but it's felt like as we're gearing up to sort of US Open weekend, it feels like there's a lot of social media noise, and that's really amped up recently. And I don't know if that's a course thing, because there's been a lot made of like the rough, but I also don't know if it's because the PGA have started getting really good at getting influencers on, playing the course, sharing content. So I don't know whether it's a double-edged thing that's leading to it. However, I couldn't have thought of anybody better to get us on and tell us about what people can expect, because from here, our side of the Great Atlantic, we know of Oakmont, but it's not one of the real big salubrious courses that you've heard of. So, now that could be my golfing ignorance, to be perfectly honest with you, Shawn, which is probably more likely.
That's here in the US too. A lot of people actually aren't as familiar with Oakmont as they are with other courses.
Is that right? Okay, interesting. Because I mean, I was looking back on, one of the things I looked back on was previous winners and things like that, and I was actually the way it was going. I was kind of the most recent edition. It was Dustin Johnson, and then previous to that was Angel Cabrera, who's obviously hitting the headlines with his putter.
He is. Do you remember who finished second to Angel in that tournament?
Who finished second to Angel Cabrera?
Take a guess. Who do you think? Who do you think probably had it on lock? And then in 2007.
2007. Oh God. I mean, we're not talking somewhere like Early L's or something like that, are we?
Tiger.
Is it European? Is it Tiger?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's a rare occasion. Somebody's beating him.
I know.
In a major in the final
He
stretch.
had a double bogey on one of the holes, and that was pretty much it. Angel he only lost by a stroke, but yeah.
Wow. I mean, I am a self-professed absolute Tiger fanboy. I love the guy. Like, it was heartbreaking when he was going through all of his troubles. And
yes.
Like, how would I have to justify really liking this guy again? But I think he's been great since he's sort of almost dropped out of contention. He's brilliant now.
Where I mean, it's hard to see Tiger nowadays on some of these majors where he's struggling to walk a little bit, or at Augusta, which is very hilly and everything else, but you just can't deny there's still a spark when he's out there. Your eyes are glued to him. No matter what he does, you have to kind of watch. You know,
He's got that stardust, hasn't he?
he
Still.
does. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
was it that I'd read that the the ratings as soon or the viewership as soon as they know Tiger Woods is going to be in there, just like there's a massive
yeah.
boost
Just go up.
on all eyes are.
Same with the purses. I mean, if you remember when he came on the scene, like the first place winnings were just really not that much, and then comparatively, and then Tiger comes on, has the effect, and now people who are just coming out of college or something have the option to win millions of dollars just one time, and
Yeah,
it's all because usually Tiger was the one that drew the crowds in and got non-golf fans excited, and that's where all the eyeballs came from.
isn't it phenomenal that one person has driven all of that, like the
Yeah,
commercialization of this game, which actually we take for granted now. I turned 45 just the other day, and it's like all I've known is this sport being pretty commercial, really, and that's when
right.
Tiger Woods coming along. Like, before that, it was all, kind of cigars and, old men in sweaters and all that kind of thing. And then he's
Yeah,
just one person completely revolutionized the sport.
yeah.
Just
I'm sorry,
big hats.
I got you off of Oakmont already. I'll
No,
try
no,
and withhold the trivia.
listen, Tiger Woods is my pet favorite
We
subject.
can
So
go that way if
I'll
you
say
want.
exactly, it's no problem. Yeah, it's a shame he's not playing, but there you go. I
Yeah.
mean, I was looking at other previous winners, and like early L's, and was then the previous winner to that, and I thought, oh, there's a narrative building here of sort of non-US winners of the U.S. Open at Oakmont,
Mm.
and then that got dashed pretty quickly because then previous time, and it's all Americans after that.
Miller, Nicholas, Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a who's who of golf. Sam said
Yeah.
Bob Jones. Just amazing roll call
Yeah.
of previous winners. But so with all of that, how is it that it's not a really well known course?
I
They,
would say it's known, but it's not necessarily the same level as like a Pebble Beach or um, other U.S. Open courses that have hosted as many times and also have that brand name recognition. This one, I feel like people instantly know when they see the church pew bunkers. They're like, "Oh, that course. I've played that on a sim, or I've seen that, wherever on the U.S. Open." But if they don't see that image and you say Oakmont, I would bet you that some people who aren't as into golf wouldn't be able to place where in the country it is. They know it's somewhere on the East Coast, maybe, but they haven't really figured out where in that area it might be. Um, it's not the same as like Pinehurst, where you're like, oh, clearly when I look at it on TV, I can tell it's in North Carolina. Like it's that type of course. This could be anywhere. It looks like it could be New Jersey. It looks like it could be in New York. It could be, anywhere. So I think that's one of the factors. And then the other reason is that it's been around so long and it's such a prestigious club, but it really is a hard to get it on club. Like the public doesn't go and just make a tea time at Oakmont. So you're not going to
right.
see a ton of social media coming out from Oakmont unless it's hosting a tournament. It's not like
Okay.
people are out there filming their like YouTube shots unless you're recently at the media day for the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Um, so I think they have a problem with like they don't want people filming out there. They have a phone policy similar to Augusta where they don't really want people out there on their phones.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see a ton of it online. And I think that in the generation coming up now, that's probably one of the factors of why they also haven't really seen a bunch of Pokemon.
One of the things that has been big and has come up from all these influencer rounds that have been going on is that everyone's been talking about how punishing this rough is going to be. And
Hmm.
I mean, I've seen some brutal videos, where they'll just drop the
Yeah, just
ball
drop it.
and can't see it again. For my standard of golf, I mean, that's what 2, 3 dozen Pro V1s gone. I think on that round, I'll just not got a chance. But I mean,
Yeah.
what are the thoughts on the rough being that punishing?
I mean, it's classic U.S. Open or USGA, right? Out of all the majors, they're the ones that trick up the course the most, sometimes to a fault, as we've seen at previous Opens.
Mm,
Um, and they like to make the style of golf really be if you are just out of position, right? You're just kind of going off the fairway a little bit, or you
mm,
just flew the green a little bit, or you didn't stop the ball. You're punished with the thick, thick rough. And of course, for us, that's like a game ender almost. Right? How do you get out of this? Like your round's done essentially because you're just going to hack out of there. But once I feel like the pros have figured out how to do that, it almost
mm.
doesn't become as exciting to watch because they've figured out how to do it versus courses like when they had it at in Oklahoma a couple years ago when Justin Thomas won at the PGA. He was playing that course where you could tell there was runoff off the greens, right? And there was plenty of let me think about this shot because if it doesn't, it's going to roll into this waste area or this bunker. A lot of US Opens don't have that. Now I know Pinehurst last year did, and that was like kind of a exciting, I think a very exciting finish to see Bryce and Rory going at it. But this course really does feel more like Winged Foot, where it's like the bomb and gouge approach to things. And I know we'll talk later probably about who's favored to win here. Um, so that rough is
That,
such
I mean, that phrase probably gives it away a little bit, doesn't it?
a
But
little bit,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But the rough really is like a USGA like kind of stamp. Like you can tell they've had their hands on something here. And at Oakmont, it's like a mix of rye, bluegrass, and fescue. So it's a kind of a cold weather mix that gets real thick, and they're going to have it tricked up. I saw something that like it's going to be 5 inches or more for the rough, and then pair
Brutal.
that with the greens. So the greens at Oakmont are Poana, but they are usually some of the fastest greens that you'll ever play, and they're going to be rolling at a 14 or a 15 on the stent meter for this
Wow.
U.S. Open. So pair that with the rough and you got greens that are as fast or faster than Augusta, it's going to make for some like interesting, holes. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
at the
mean,
least.
it, this is probably going to lead me on to my next question, actually. But I mean, you golf fans? We're all absolute fanatics. We live and breathe the game in our own
Mhm.
little way. What do you prefer watching? I suppose that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Do you prefer watching? Um, I'll go a little bit harsh here. Do you prefer watching what you might consider overpaid? Um, you know, head in the clouds, and out of touch of reality rock stars that struggling to do the basics of golf and
Live golf.
things like that. Yeah, naming names. But do you want that, or um, do you want to see something that's obviously a test, but is that you see fantastic shots, you see amazing tee shots, you see. I mean, does we don't know. Time will tell. But do we get a congested scoreboard because it's difficult, or do we get
hmm
a spread out scoreboard where only two or three have mastered the course? I mean, I don't really know. What do you like watching?
I like watching what Augusta does, and not just because of the fact that it's Augusta. I like having courses that have like the pine needles or the waste areas, somewhere where the ball could continue down a fairway and there's a fair shot that's being asked of the golfer, but if they're offline or whatever, it's going to roll into trees or it's going to roll into desert or whatever the case is. I don't really like seeing the ball disappear in the rough because then it's like every hole has the exact same attack plan that's like, oh, I'm in the rough. Well, you know what you have to do from here. You're either gonna try and chop it out as far as you can in play, or you're gonna go for it. But what's gonna happen when it hits the green? It's probably gonna skitter off and then go into the rough again, or you leave it short. So the playbook for that type of golf isn't as diverse. And I like watching more link style or courses where you're going to keep it low, you're going to run it up, you're going to try all these different shots. Um, that to me is more exciting because it for me too. If I ever get to play that style of golf, I love how it just makes you think, and you can play something like really fun. the other day I was playing a course that was kind of reminding me of this as far as we can get out here, and I had to hit a putter from 50 yards out. And I was like, how cool is that I get to use
Yeah,
a
yeah,
putter from 50 yards
yeah,
out? Because I was blocked by trees and I couldn't get it up, So I thought
yeah.
that was fun. That's my
It's
style
just all
that I like to
stuff
play.
you've seen stuff like that on TV, haven't you? And you see
Yeah.
Seve, people like that who've played that kind of shot. So, I mean, I think before we'd commenced on this frankly ridiculous journey of trying to play the top 100 courses in the UK in 10 years, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Well, who does that? Stupid.
You guys
But
do that, hopefully.
yeah, fingers crossed. But before we sort of started on it, I hadn't really played anywhere links, and then it had a bit of fear for me. I
Hmm.
was like, oh my god, like these are some of the toughest courses and things like that. And actually, Chris, who do the challenge with, he said that you'll love it because you have to think that's
Hmm.
exactly the right thing. It's not just there's a flag, I'm firing at it, and if I miss, okay, what? Because you can play that same shot in probably six different ways and still get it close. And
Yeah.
I've got a trademark bump and run. Like, I'll basically do a putting stroke with my 7 iron, and I'm good at judging the distance with that.
Ooh, I like that.
So if I've got like nothing in front of me and I can run it to the green, that's for me. It's like I'm not even going to try and fly that. Take everything out of the equation,
Yeah.
the wind, everything. Just run it along the floor, and it'll do the job.
Yeah.
Um, but you do get a chance to actually think about it, and you do. I mean, the other thing that's probably just occurred to me, I didn't mention it prior to coming on, but the pace of play is a massive thing at the minute, right? So if these golf balls are disappearing left, right, and centre, how are these players supposed to be keeping pace with play? I mean, I know obviously they got
Oh,
spotters,
they got spotters at the
yeah,
tournament. Yeah,
which
right. They
is
got the guy that's throwing the flag down immediately.
or somebody kicking it back into play has happened a few times.
Yeah, but
But
this happens on public courses like at San Diego where TJ lives, at Torrey. We like to play there every once in a while, right before or after the Farmers Open. Um, and
oh,
the rough is
nice,
like that, but you don't have spotters out there, and so they tell you when you tee off that generally there's a 60-second rule. If you can't find your ball, just drop another and hit, because otherwise the rounds out there would be way too slow.
yeah, yeah. How we're gonna just go on tangent here, off tangent here a little bit, but Tory Pines, tell me about that place. I mean, it
Oh,
looks amazing.
it's one of my favorite places to be in the world. Um, we did an episode on it on the South Course where I said like the lodge at Torrey Pines is like my resting place. Just put me there at the end of my life and let me live it out. Like that's I'm very happy there.
Yeah, just
Um,
get me a drink, get me a rocking chair and a
yeah,
blanket, and I'll just watch people play golf here. That's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
It's funny, like people sometimes will shit on the course when it's on the rotation for the PGA Tour because it's not the most exciting golf to see. And it does suffer from what I just described with the USGA, like a lot of tricked up court holes with just thick rough, long narrow fairways, and bunkers, and there's not a lot of other factors. The only water is on the 18th hole at the South Course, and that's like a pond. Um, but when you play it and you're not playing it during the week of the Open, it's like any other course in terms of difficulty. It
Mhm.
allows you to miss the ball a little bit more, so you can kind of just swing as hard as you want. And I guess that's a bit of the bomb and gouge approach, right? And there's holes where you can't do that, but for the majority of the time, you're going to go hit it. You'll find your ball. You'll have an angle in usually. There's not like narrow corridors lined with trees or anything like that where you're going to be punished. And everyone who's out there knows what they've got. It feels like when you're teeing off, everyone else is excited. This is kind of a really stupid analogy. TJ will laugh at this, but my family's really into Disney, like Disneyland and stuff. We have a 5-year-old, so I take him all the time. And all
Yeah.
the people who are lined up to get into Disneyland are all kind of like excited. You're off work, you're gonna go have a big day, you're gonna go ride the rides, kind of thing. And there's like a buzz or an energy almost. And when you're at the pro shop at Torrey and stuff, like there's people from Japan who have just got off a tour bus and they're playing this course. You've got people who are visiting from out of town. Then you have like locals who got off work and they're about to go play. But everyone's getting like transfusions and drinks at 9 a.m. Everyone's excited to go like
Yeah.
go have a day at Torrey. You don't have plans after this. And so there's that buzz and that energy, and it's
Yeah.
just so iconic, and it's one of my favorite places to be, honestly.
I think that there's a lot to be said for the fun factor of going out and playing,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
enjoyment and excitement, and you can get a little bit. It's great. It's wonderful playing some of the best and toughest course in the world. Of course, that's it feels like a serious golf day, doesn't it? That like
Hmm.
I want to test myself, and I think Chris actually fits into that category. He wants to play these courses when they're in tough um,
Tough shape.
weather conditions, and just kind of the greens are fast and the rough's high and all this kind of thing. I'm not. I'm like mine is. I want to go out there and just have a damn good day, just
Yeah.
playing golf. And for me, that isn't shooting low. That isn't hats and hatfuls of birdies or anything like that.
Right.
I get one birdie, and that's made my day. Like, I'm doing the dance, I'm doing everything. It's just kind of I'll walk away from that day to say, "I've just had the best day ever. It's amazing."
Yeah.
We just recently played Glen Eagles.
Oh, how was it?
I mean, it's a it's described as a golfer's playground, and that's exactly what it is. Like, just they do
Yeah.
everything just so well. I said to Chris as we were sort of finishing up at the King's course, I said, I think this is the closest I'm going to feel to, um, being like a pro. You turn everything sorted for you.
Yeah.
You turn up, you they'll take your bags from your car, and it's all sort of sorted out there. And then you
Yeah.
turn up on the tee. It's like, grab some tees, grab a divot tool, grab a yardage book, all this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Did you
It
have a
was
caddy?
amazing. No, we didn't have a caddy actually, so we
Ah.
played with members on both occasions. So we
Ah.
A didn't need a caddy, and B saved ourselves the expense of doing that.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
that's going to be a big milestone actually for us. The first place we actually need to get a caddy, because then you've got somebody who you don't know watching you playing golf, which is always a
Yeah, but you talk about wanting to
experience.
feel like a pro, like when you have a guy asking you, like, "What do you typically hit these irons?" I like, "What are you thinking about doing here?" And you're like, "Well, I wasn't thinking, but now I am."
No, now I am. Yeah, yeah. That's
It's
I was
like
just, I was just going to step up and hit.
I was gonna step up and start blasting, and now I got to
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah. And
But
actually,
that's the fun part too.
I've got to tell you the real number of how long I actually hit my five.
Uh-huh.
That kind of thing. Like, I can't do my in my
You're
head.
like,
It's
this could
yeah,
go anywhere from 140 to 160. Who knows?
yeah. I think getting back to what we were talking about, the enjoyment factor of the day,
Hmm.
we had the best time playing on the Queen's course, because it's not really a long course, but it's I think because of that they've made like we do a thing called Dream 18. So as we're going around, it's like if we see a visually stunning hole, like, right, is it in our Dream 18 hole? And hopefully at the end we've
Yeah.
got 18 amazing golf holes that we can look back on. And we nominated three on the front nine alone from the Queen's course into the Dream 18, because you stood on the
Wow.
tee and it was like, that is a feast for the eyes. Like, just a stunning. And it didn't matter that I didn't hit a good tee shot. It was just like, but I wanted. I couldn't wait to put the ball in the tee box and
Yeah.
and spray it left. That's just how it was. And that fun sometimes I think is a little bit. I think I'd convinced Chris that he enjoyed the Queen's course more than the King's
More
course.
than Kings. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was set for that. He was like, "I know Kings is a serious course, all that kind of thing." I was like, "Yeah, but I know, but look at that. How many interesting tee shots did we have, and how many approaches of like 160, 150, 160 for your
Yeah.
second shot into the green? I mean, I'm not saying that we've got good stats from there at all, but that's heaven, isn't it? You
Yeah.
can hit a 7, 6 iron, something like that, and you've actually got a chance of maybe getting something close. So
Yeah.
it
It's
was
funny you
it
say
was
those
fun.
3 holes make your, like, dream 18 because um I feel the same way about courses sometimes where I don't even care what I shot. If I had a handful of holes, actually, we have a test question on our pod about this called the Buzzworthy test, where we talk about is there more than one hole you'd want to immediately go play again. And if there is, that sometimes makes a course for me where I am just like, I cannot wait to go back out and try to play number 3 or 4 again or whatever.
Yeah,
Because it's asking a certain question or the view's amazing or whatever. It's enough to draw me back out there. And then when I think back on a day of golf, even if I didn't have a good round, I'm like, how lucky was I that I got to play these today? That is a cool
absolutely right.
feeling. Like, what'd you
Of
do
course it
today? Oh,
is.
I was out here, I was staring at the coast, or I played this amazing, beautiful hole. And those like postcard type things sometimes can make a round too.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, our phones don't quite do it justice,
No,
do
not
they?
even
Because you sort of take a
close.
picture and you go, oh, well, it just looks like a pretty flat hole, but actually when you're there, you go, oh, it's all the undulation. Oh,
I have an
uh,
idea for a pod that maybe we'll have you on for on ours, which is like that exact concept. You cannot capture with a phone, and I want to call it like a love letter episode,
oh,
where it's like
nice.
pick a hole or a course or whatever it is, and just start opining for like 30 minutes. Like bring me there, sell me on this feeling you feel when you're there. And write that love letter to that hole or to that course or
I
whatever it is.
love
Because
that.
sometimes that's enough to sell it versus like just a video where you pan and try and do it justice and you can't.
Yeah, because I just don't think you can. You
No.
take in so much other stuff, don't you, when you play? I think also sometimes yeah, I've hit um tee boxes sometimes when I've just picked up or I've just shot a nine on a par three.
Yeah.
It's just been an absolute disgrace. And then you kind of you want the reset, don't you? You want something just to snap you out of it, and
Yeah.
you head down. You suddenly get to the tee box, you look up and you go, "Oh wow, like that is stunning."
Yeah.
To hell with what's just happened now. I'm here now, present for this.
Right.
Um, that's 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 our game, isn't it? That's the beauty of what we do.
It is. Yeah.
How lucky we get to play in some of these places.
Yeah.
Now,
I got you
talk
off the
about
rails
some.
again from Oakmont.
You did. No, it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, talking of how you're going to feel on the tee box,
Yeah.
the eighth at
Mm,
Oakmont is a 280-yard par three.
hmm.
Now, I can't hit my driver 280 yards at the best of times anyway. And I've seen the green, it's surrounded by bunkers, and I've seen the rough, and that's pretty bad as well. So you've got to be pretty accurate with your. They're probably going to be hitting what 3 wood, probably, aren't they? Maybe. Um, Now, there's been a bit of chat here in the
Yeah.
UK and Europe, probably a little bit about the distance there, and is
Hmm.
that really a fair par three? Uh, because we're talking about that kind of 160, 170 distance, maybe getting up to 200, and
Right.
the par three is the chance to see these pros throwing darts at this hole. You know,
Hmm.
it's the ultimate thing. Everybody chasing is a hole in one. I mean, getting pretty lucky if you're getting one on that par three. We're probably expecting 20 to 25% of people hitting that green,
Uh,
maybe over the course
yeah.
of the tournament. So, I mean, what do you, where do you guys stand, or what's the sort of chat in the States about that particular hole that's been quite talked about?
It's stupid. It's dumb.
Next
It's
question.
yeah. No, no, no. It's I agree with you. It's honestly I talk with some other guys like my neighbor or my friends about like, what's coming, and we'll talk about that hole and we're like, why? Just why? Like I'd rather watch the postage stamp. I'd rather watch one of those holes where like you got to land it in this little spot or else you might roll off the back or you might roll into a bunker or you might like even 16 at Augusta. You land it on this little part of the hill, it's going to come in and feed into the pin from here. And like, if you land it just right there, there's a chance that this guy jars it. That is way more exciting to me than a 280-yard par three. And on
Yeah.
top of that, one of the days of the U.S. Open, they're going to run this as a 299-yard par three. I don't know if you knew that. So
Okay.
it's a
Right.
300-yard par three on one of the days. And I mentioned at the top, I have some trivia for you. I have my first trivia question for you.
Right. Got. I'm ready.
Are you
Ready.
ready? It's about
Yeah.
this hole.
Let's go. Okay.
All right. So one of the players who will be there, uh, they're playing at Memorial this week at Muirfield, right?
Mm.
Uh, went to Pennsylvania and went to Oakmont to go play a practice round before Muirfield. It was one of the first players to go see what the course looks like and go get experience. And they were asked about this hole. So this player has 2 PGA championships, but no U.S. Open wins. And he was asked if he had played the 300-yard par three, and he said, "Yeah, I did. It's not my favorite hole in the world. I think you could do some other things with that, but everyone's going to have to play the same hole and be able to execute the same shots. And I would love 4 threes on it right now if I could take it." Who do you think said that? And my hint is they have 2 PGA championships under their belt, but no U.S.
Bryson.
Opens. Who?
Is that Bryson?
No, not Bryson. He has a U.S. Open, doesn't he?
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
last year.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh God, two PGA championships. Go on, who was it?
Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas. So he's really not a fan then.
No, and he's chasing the elusive trophy, obviously, but he's
Yeah.
not a huge fan of that, and he's been struggling with recently he's pulling a few of his drives.
Hmm.
So I think he's going to kind of figure out, how he's going to play this course, but that specific hole, just not a fan. And I don't think it's fair to say you or I are either. Like this is kind of
No,
a
it seems ridiculous. But
yeah,
what,
I'll watch
what's
it.
like?
I'll tune in and watch to see what they're doing on day one, maybe. But after that, I don't
Yeah.
really need to like see it, I guess. I need to make a distinction here too between the USGA and Oakmont, right? So like
Right.
Oakmont as a course already is must see TV. Like I really want to watch people take on Oakmont.
Yeah.
The USGA decides to just turn that up to like 11, right? And
Hmm.
the way they should be doing that is all the ways we've just already been talking about, but instead they go the thick rough and long hole type route. Um, but I will say, like, this hole does look really cool on regular days at Oakmont. And most of Oakmont, I don't know if you want me to cover this now or not, but is like it's built into hills. So most of the holes don't go up or down a hill. They go along the hills. So most of the fairways slope. And
Excellent.
that's where like the Churchview bunkers come into play because on that
Yeah.
hole you want to be on the left side of the fairway. If you're not, your ball's going to roll all the way down to the right side into the rough or to a bunker.
Yeah.
So those church pews they don't look like they're in play, but when you realize that you have to land it just right of that bunker or else you're going to be all the way down here, that's
Yeah.
when it comes into play. So most of these holes, I like that both the fairways and the greens have these elements of elevation or undulation in play. And so I think even without the USGA doing what they're doing, Oakmont will be one of the courses that's going to be really fun to watch that. Like, can this guy shape this ball the way that you want it
Yeah.
to be shaped? Can he
Yeah.
land it in this certain spot without rolling all the way down? And
Yeah.
then
That feels like a good test of the overall golf, then, doesn't it? Can you play
100%,
from, uphill, downhill, left, right, lies, all that kind of thing, and draw it or cut it, whichever way you want to do
it
it.
will require all the shot shapes and all those types of ball above your feet, below your feet, like what you're going to do. I have a little fun fact for you too on this. So
This is great.
teeing
I love
myself
it.
up here. Um, so if you would play Oakmont in the regular setup, um,
Hmm.
if you don't mind me asking, do you know your handicap?
Yeah, it's 16.
Okay. So let's say that you shot 6 strokes better over time and you became a 10 handicap. Okay.
Okay.
If you were a 10 handicap playing Oakmont, this course has a course rating of 77.5 and a slope rating of 150 out of 155 possible. So it's
Yeah, yeah,
one of the toughest tests of golf.
yeah.
If you had a 10 handicap, you would be given 21 strokes from the championship tees to shoot even par.
Wowza. 20
That's how
points.
much harder it plays. Yeah, you're not just getting your 10 shots, you're getting 21 shots to basically
Yeah,
be scratched.
doubled what you would be getting just to be scratch.
Yeah. And
That's
that's without the
unbelievable, isn't
USGA
it?
setup. Like that's just how tough this course is because you got greens that
Yeah.
roll away from you, you got fairways that slope, and it's just it really is a tough test of golf, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch. But that just puts it in context for you, right? When you're thinking
Of
about
course it
the
does.
course,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Okay, so you've probably given us the characteristics of the course a little bit more, and
mhm,
that's one of the things people like about Augusta, don't they? You've got these sweeping um, fairways, and you don't get to see it on TV as much, and the height
yeah,
differences and things like that. But that kind of course, then, who are you thinking from the field
mm,
that's going to suit the most? And
okay,
it might be a double-stranded question, actually, Shawn. I'm just thinking because
yeah.
it might change according to the rough, mightn't it?
Well, that could certainly just torpedo someone's round, right?
Mm,
So long but accurate is I mean, don't we all want to be? But that is kind of one of the biggest sliders on who would do well here. Long hitters, but people who generally have fairways and regulation. So think of your Scotty Schefflers, your Rorys. Um, and then the rough is nasty, but spin control is really important on the greens, right? So we talked about
right.
the greens being super fast. Generally, they slope away, so you have to know where exactly to land it, or even in front of the green sometimes. So you're taking people who have good approaches into green stats, right? So the money right now is on Scotty. Number 2 is Rory, who I know you guys
Right.
big fans of Rory. Um, Bryson, John Rahm, and Xander. Those are your top 5. Now, I don't.
Right.
That's purely based on odds and some data golf stuff. I'll tell you, I don't like the John Rahm stat. I just feel like
Yeah.
even though he did well recently, he has the personality to blow up and just get angry, and then it just rounds out at the door. And how many
Yeah.
hacks out of the rough does it take before Rahm throws a club? I could see that
Yeah.
happening in my
I think
mind.
he's got that fiery temperament, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so honestly, if there's someone that like outside of those names that I think is a sleeper pick here, I would go with Ludwig. I
Oh, love
I
that guy.
Yeah, I think he's level-headed. He hits the ball far. He's pretty accurate. We just talked about Torrey. He won at Torrey
Mm,
when they held the Genesis over there,
yeah.
and he got second at the or yeah. Did he runner up at the Farmers? I think he did, but he was leading a couple days at the Farmers before he fell back. And Torrey is one of those courses we just talked about, very U.S. Open like, right? It's just narrow fairways, a lot of thick rough, tricky
Mm,
greens. So like Ludwig, honestly, and he's shown up in majors. I do think he would be like where I'm putting some of my money for good odds.
yeah.
I think he's like plus 1800 or something like that.
Yeah, he's a good
So
absolute shout, isn't he?
yeah, so I would put Ludwig. That's where I'm putting my money this year.
He's such a cool guy as well.
Oh,
I'm
totally.
so jealous of him.
I
Oh,
tried to
yeah.
put on one of those like Adidas hats he wears, and I couldn't pull it off, and I hated it. I was like, ah, he looks so much better in this hat than
See, that's the difference, is Sean. I'd still wear it. I look like an absolute fool, but I'm still wearing. I mean, we're off again, but
yeah, yeah,
some of
yeah.
that new Adidas original stuff is just amazing. I bought myself a new driver head cover. I got a new shirt for my birthday, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, I've got a glove. I don't need a new glove, I certainly don't need a £30 glove anyway. But I was like, this looks cool. I'm having
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, they've done well with all of that kind of stuff. I think it's good.
And I agree.
Yeah, and he's a sexy man. Ludwig. Um,
We'll have to
yeah,
double click on that, explore that a little bit more with you on another pod. Just
I think yeah, maybe there's a different podcast genre to take into that one. Um,
yeah,
okay, lovely. I think that's good. That's good. I mean, there's a good smattering of Europeans there, then, isn't there? In
for sure.
the reckoning.
Yeah, I
It's
honestly, come another Ryder Cup, I think you guys have a pretty strong chance at winning again. So
it's looking good. I mean, it's certainly looking like it could be very competitive. I think
I think so. Yeah,
that's all you want to be, don't you?
yeah,
I don't think I haven't got any like European tattoos or anything. I'm kind of hating it if the Americans win, but you just want a nice close contest.
yeah, yeah. That's all I
Um,
always root for is a good competition.
I, I can't wait. I can't wait for that. It's really shaping up well. I mean, Rory winning a green jacket has just really sort of thrown the cat amongst the pigeons now this time. Because it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see how he gets on it. Taking that.
What did you
Uh,
think about him not calling Jack for the Memorial Tournament? Did you see that clip?
oh no, it's like Rory. Come on, 5 minutes. What does it take?
I know it's a bit tough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold out hope that there was some miscommunication there.
Something there, yeah, absolutely. Because you just think, he's the grandfather of the game.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. Because actually, Rory's not like that. Rory, I mean, yeah, he's been a little bit more spiky since winning the Masters. Actually, it's been really strange, but
yeah. It's got some
missing
personal
loads of.
stuff going on, maybe. You know.
Yeah, maybe. And he's not been speaking to reporters and things like that. And one thing he's always been good at is time for people and respect for the game and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing. So yeah, I'd like to think that there was some attempt made and it didn't quite work out.
it was tough
Some
seeing Jack
things.
up there looking like he was about to cry.
Do you know what he did?
He
I
really
mean,
did.
we've just this week done the episode about Jack Nicklaus's stats, which were frankly insane. But
Oh my god.
um, yeah, he's just it's like your granddad, isn't he? He's like lovable guy. Just want to give him a hug.
Yeah. Speaking of Nicholas too, and Oakmont, bringing us back to Oakmont, he won that one year. That year was the year that Arnold Palmer went up against him and was trying to win at Oakmont. And Arnold Palmer I don't know if he finished second, but he was like he was a leader and like was trying to close it out and couldn't close it out, and Nicholas came from behind and won. And Oakmont was one of the places that Arnold Palmer had said in his career he wished he would have uh, won a trophy at. That he was like that was the one that got away almost, among others, I'm sure,
Right.
but he really wanted that trophy at the U.S. Open. And
I mean, it feels like the course has got a lot of respect from the players. It is one they want to
yeah,
get a trophy out if they can.
I think it goes back
Yeah,
to the history too. It's been
yeah,
around since 1903 or 1904, and it's been a tough test of golf ever since. And it got prestigious and notoriety pretty early on because the son of the guy who built the course actually became the head of the was it the USGA he became the head of? He became the head of, hold on, let me check my facts here. I don't want to speak out here.
Oh, don't
Yeah,
worry.
he became USGA president in 1926. So the son of the guy who built this course, became president eventually, and so that's why Oakmont has hosted the most U.S. Opens, is because
Right.
there's a history there. So
Yeah.
it definitely got elevated once I think a lot of that stuff happened.
I mean, what do you know anything about the club itself? And obviously, it seemingly is exclusive, so you're not going to
Yeah.
have much out there about it. But is there anything you do know about the club
Um, yeah. I
element?
mean, there's not like if you see reviews and stuff about it, it's all positive because I think you're not invited back if you ever say anything
Yeah.
bad, kind of thing.
Don't burn your
Um,
bridges.
Yeah, but it's actually like a community. It has like it has like a pool. It has a clubhouse. It has like, a gym. It is really like a full club that you could go
Yeah.
to, a country club, and not just do golf. So there's that element to it. But they do have some funky well, not funky, but they have some like more uh call it old school codes or things they do. So I mentioned the
Right.
phones is one of them, right?
I am interested now. You've really got my attention, Sean. I
Okay,
love this kind of stuff.
so their dress code is pretty strict. It's collared shirts, mock turtlenecks, slacks, shorts you can get away with, but the shorts have to be at a certain knee height. Like they can't be too high. So shorts are to be no more than 2 inches above the knee.
I find that fun, hilarious.
I know,
It's like,
me too.
what's going to
Especially
happen?
because,
What do you think's going to happen here?
yeah.
Yeah,
Shout out to Chubbies. I don't know if you guys wear that brand of clothing out there in the UK, but TJ is very close to Chubbies, and they make shorts that are shorter than that. And one of the clips that went viral for us was him hitting himself in the face with a golf ball, and he was wearing some of the shortest shorts he'd ever owned in that clip. Uh, we still get comments to this day about it.
I love that.
Kind of funny,
Love
but
that. Feels like they're trying to out Augusta here.
I mean, they could give them a run for their money in terms of membership and how long they've been around and whatnot, right? They've been around longer than Augusta.
Right?
So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's actually Augusta connection. Bobby Jones, who kind of co-founded the Masters in Augusta, even though it's a Mackenzie design. Bobby Jones won here at Oakmont. Um,
Yeah.
so
No, actually, I think it's a really great segue to something previous, so our listeners will be aware of this. When we did do our Masters live reaction, we did drop in a healthy sprinkling of some pretty interesting facts, actually, and they all came
yeah.
from Sean. So, hey, Sean, they actually went down an absolute treat. Everyone loved them.
Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that episode as well because it was just like I had it on repeat. But yeah, is there anything sort of either in the history of Oakmont or just
Mhm.
generally about Oakmont that's like a really surprising or interesting, notable fact?
Yeah, so I've been known to, nerd out and do a lot of deep dives in history.
Same
I
here.
pulled out some stuff from here that I had bookmarked for just kind of a future episode idea around country clubs and whatnot. But I talked about the guy that was the son of the architect that became the USGA president. So um, start off with him, I guess, a little bit of a background. So his dad Henry was kind of he grew up in Pittsburgh. So for those who don't know, Oakmont is just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the East Coast. And that's a region that's really well known for iron and steel and a lot of manufacturing. And so the guy who founded Oakmont actually sold a company to the steel magnate, Andrew Carnegie. So that's where he got his money. And then around the same time, this guy, Henry, or HC was his initials, he had some health issues where he had a new outlook on life. And so Carnegie actually introduced him to the game of golf and told him, you got to go to the UK. You need to go to Scotland. You need to go to Ireland. You need to go to these other places and start playing some of that golf. So he went to the old course. He went to all these other ones. Carnoustie, I believe he played, and a handful of others, and came back in love with link style golf. And he's in Pittsburgh, so he can't build links really as it's meant to be. There's no coast. But he wanted to build something inland that resembled that, and it would be a full 18-hole test. So right from the get-go, they were trying to make a course that was like a really tough course. They wanted it to be a challenge. That was what they wanted. And his son, WC, the one that became the president, was a really good golfer in his own right. So he was a 4-time amateur champion in the state of Pennsylvania. He had won a handful of other tournaments in the U.S. He actually was one of the founders of the Walker Cup, and he was the first American captain of the Walker Cup in 1922, and then became USGA president in 26 and 27. So the family has a lot of their hands on some of these well-known parts of golf. And so because of that, WC, who was very competitive in his own right, when they would host tournaments and U.S. Opens at Oakmont, he had a really, really tough time with anyone who was beating on the course. He wanted the course to beat up the golfers. He did not like golfers shooting good scores. So there's kind of a funny story. Yeah, where WC would drop a ball on the back of the green on certain holes, like the second green. And if it didn't roll off the front, he'd ask the grounds crew why the greens were so slow. He needed that to kick a ball off the front. Like he wanted this to be that challenging. And then another time, kind of a funny story as he got a little older.
Sounds like a fun guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, no. During World War II, there was like a war bonds exhibition like at Oakmont where they were trying to raise money for war bonds. And Sam Snead, famous, obviously, found that on the 7th hole, which is like a par 4, that there was an open area beyond the bunker on the right side of the fairway, and it was a place that he could land the ball that had a really easy angle into the green. And so on the first day, he was doing that, and WC saw that. He was informed of the strategy that Snead was playing. So that night, he had a grounds crew go out there and install a bunker in that exact spot, and didn't tell the golfers. And Snead found that bunker off the tee the next day. That's the level of pettiness that WC had, essentially.
That's pedantic beyond belief, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not playing this hole like I want you to play it.
No, exactly.
You're right.
And making the grounds crew like go that night to go do it. So
imagine
doing a
being
bunker
his
overnight.
kids. Imagine being his kids.
Oh God, yeah.
Just
don't
Dad,
even want to
come on, just give us a break.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're supposed to be encouraging us.
Yeah.
Like, do it the proper way. That's how you got to do it. Like, oh man.
And speaking of the proper way, another fact about it too I found in history is that they hand dug and did this whole course with horses, plows, and manpower. There's no machinery.
No
So
machinery, right?
no. So they used 24 horses and mules, 150 men. They dug out the first 12 holes, and they did that in 6 weeks. And then they had to stop because it was winter and the ground got too hard and they couldn't do it. So they finished the last 6 holes in the spring the following year. And so they were supposed to open in 03, but they opened in 04 because they didn't finish before winter and this whole thing that happened. But like that was all by hand. That was the level of kind of I guess you would call it like the work mindset that this guy Henry and his children had, because back then there was pretty much a class system where these guys were the wealthy and they just employ these guys to come do what they said and make a buck. So there was that. Okay, I have a couple questions for you, kind of hole by hole here on a few things. So hole 1 is actually one of the toughest holes of golf in the U.S. Open. It's a par
Like
four.
full stop. Anyway.
Yeah, it's historically one of the toughest holes. I think it's in the top three toughest holes of U.S. Opens um,
Wow.
in terms of score. So it's a par four, 488 yards, narrow fairway that goes downhill, and the green slopes front to back. So on top of going downhill, you're hitting into a green that comes away from you.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think the stroke average was in the 2016 U.S. Open with Dustin Johnson when he won? It's a par four.
Oh, par
So think
four.
about like if
Yes.
you have your average round winning at Augusta at -6 or something like that, right? Like an average score for
Yeah.
most holes that are par fours would be like 3.88 or something, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like
It's definitely over four, isn't it?
a
I think
handful of
it's
guys are going
over
to
four.
birdie, but most will par. Yeah,
Yeah, if you put it in trivia, it's going to be like crazy high, isn't it? So I would say four and a half,
it's
four
four
point
point
six,
four point four five. Yeah, it's
four
four and a
point
half
well, four and a
essentially.
half. Yeah, that's
Half the
unbelievable,
field's
isn't it?
bogeying that hole, so you walk away with a birdie, like that, or I mean, excuse me, a par. That's
A
a
par,
good
yeah,
start to the round.
jumping for joy. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and
yeah,
also that's 2016, right?
yeah.
So that's like the guys have got all the new equipment.
Oh yeah, they're
That's what they've
attacking
got
that.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jesus. And also they would have
um,
been big off the tee, wouldn't they? Because good downhill and all that kind of thing if they were accurate. But
yeah.
wow,
That was part of the
wow.
I was forget who I was listening to, but someone was talking about on some of those holes, like the first hole even, you have to know where you want your next like obviously whenever you play, you want to figure out where you're leaving the ball. But those greens are so fast and so tough that they need to know exactly where after it's a 15 on the stent meter, this thing's gonna roll out. Because if it rolls out but it doesn't go below the pin, right. Now they got a little downhill tester that could go off the
Yeah,
green. So they need to be like in this little area past the pin to go back uphill, but not too far that it goes into the rough. So it's like really, really insane, like how you
Jesus.
would play that.
Old WC's test, drop the ball at the back of the green and
I
then
know exactly.
wow.
And it rolls off. Um,
Wow.
the Church Pew bunker. Do you know what hole it first shows up on?
Gee, I'm gonna guess now. Is it a traditional out and back, or is it two loops of nine? Oakmont. No.
Well, I have something about that too. Actually, it's a little different.
Okay. Oh, so
Uh,
I can't get the clue then, can I? I want to say seventh.
it's a third. It's pretty
Third.
quick.
Do you know what? I was gonna say third for some reason, and
Yeah.
then I just thought, I bet the third's like a par three, isn't it? And he'll say, "What are you talking about?" That's
Yeah.
stupid, but
So
yeah, we'll say
the church
okay.
pew is 100 yards long now. It's essentially a
Wow.
massive bunker, right? But it used to be 12 individual bunkers, and they connected it and just kept those lines of grass essentially that are there.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe there's still 12 lines of grass for the 12 bunkers. But the the thought was if you're anywhere around the pews, you have a decent shot that you can still hit. But if you're in
Mm.
there, you're essentially going sideways. You can't get out really that
Yeah.
much, right?
Yeah.
And that fairway goes left to right. So you got to flirt with that bunker as much as you can without getting in, because otherwise you're going to roll to the right. And that was the hole that Tiger double bogeyed in 2007 that lost him the tournament to
But
Angel
also
Cabrera.
to Cabrera, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
kind of a history on that. So the other thing too, this is more of a fun fact, but I mentioned that he asked if it's out and back or whatever.
Yeah.
Right through the course is a freeway, is a highway. It's the Pennsylvania Turnpike. If you zoom out on maps or you look at
You're
a drone
kidding.
shot and the drone keeps going far enough, there is a legit 8-lane highway going through the middle of this course. So, you think of this course being out there in the woods or kind of,
Yeah.
a club. No, it's bisected by this highway. Like you'll see
I did not
trucks
expect you to
and
say that.
lorries going by. Yeah. So
We didn't see how much you actually spot that on the coverage because they won't be bringing that up.
yeah, I don't know if they're going to advertise it. They probably won't. They'll have a lot of angles that won't show, but it's going to be impossible not to see from like the blimp shots or anything like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
holes 2 through 8 are actually on the other side of the highway.
So do
And then
they have to cross over then, I presume,
there's a
and
bridge.
yeah,
Yeah. So
play the
you
bridge,
play
yeah.
one, you go over a bridge, and then you play 2 through 8, you come back over the bridge, and then you play 9 through 18. Do you guys call them highways? You call them motorways?
Motorways, yeah, yeah.
Motorways.
So yeah, motorway, yeah.
I did
Yeah.
drop lorries. I don't know if your listeners caught that, but
You did drop
I know that.
Lauren in there, yeah, yeah. That was it, yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. That's good research.
I was a Top Gear fan back in the day. I watched plenty of
Oh, so,
British
see,
golfers.
I've got into a habit at the end of our podcast of saying "on that bombshell," which is what Jeremy
Yeah,
Clarkson used to always say,
Jeremy used
didn't
to say.
he? But yeah, old Jezza, yeah,
You know what's
yeah,
funny about
wonderful.
him that always made me laugh? He used to always make fun of how fat Americans were, and then he started to get a little bit of a good himself. It
Not
was
really one to talk, is he?
no,
Yeah,
he would shit on Americans for that, and he
he's got that classic gut though, hasn't he? Where everything else
the
comes like
slope.
it's skinny, but yeah, that's he
Yeah,
can rest
yeah,
his
yeah,
beer
yeah.
on it if he wants to. Well, Sean, you have given us some absolute gems about Oakmont today. Thank you so much.
Of
I
course.
also appreciate it's really, really early there. So, yeah, but I would definitely urge everyone to give the guys a follow. I'm going to put a little link in our description. But the easiest way to find all their content is just search Must Play on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Preferably YouTube. YouTube's always a good one because you can actually get to see the guys. That's always a good
Yep.
thing. Um, and yeah, I promise you, you'll absolutely love this podcast. So give them a listen. And I mean, who are you really plumping for then? I mean, let's take the money out of it. Let's take any betting out of it. Who's
Mm,
your one guy that you'd be over the moon if they win at Oakmont?
Fleetwood. I
Tommy
would
Fleetwood,
love to see Tommy let go. I just really
Tommy,
want him to
Tommy,
win.
Tommy.
Yeah.
I love his swing. Absolutely love his swing.
I do too. He seems like kind of like Keegan, where he's going to show the emotion. He's going to cry if he wins. He's going to have the wholesome family moments. He deserves it. He's gotten close in the U.S. so many times. I would love to see him win. When he lost the RBC Canadian Open, that one broke me. I was like, he deserved it. I
Oh,
wanted to see it.
yeah.
Um,
I professed my love for Ludwig before. I'd love to see Ludwig winning
is that your pick,
going
Lud?
into the. I think going into a Ryder Cup, it'd be great for him. Well, I mean, Tommy's obviously that'd be great, but a European to win the U.S. Open,
Yeah.
going into if we can go into the Ryder Cup and we've got two European major winners, different ones, I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
Hmm.
Just got the romantic finishes. Rory wins the Open over here because it's
Yeah.
Portrush where he's from. So uh, yeah, if we could share it out, I mean, great if we can have three European winners before the Ryder Cup. That's
Okay,
even
let's
more
not get
spicy,
greedy
isn't
here. You're getting a little greedy.
it? The golf levels itself out, so you'll get the Ryder Cup, so it'll be fine. Yeah, can't wait for that. But no, thank you, Sean. That was absolutely brilliant,
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
and
I appreciate that.
certainly certainly given me so much more information about Oakmont. I mean, I didn't know, and I'm looking up WC as soon as I can.
There you go.
The cruel, cruel man.
Yep.
Next time on the Top 110 Golf Podcast, we'll preview the next course we're playing, historic Ganton Golf Club in Yorkshire.